everything's it sounded perfect. All right. Yeah, let me just start it. Of course.
One second.
Of course, we're live doing the show, and of course, there's technical difficulties trying to reach Gilbert now. Just had him, no problem. Lost connection. That's the life of doing live streaming in today's era. Still can't get Gilbert yet. Of course, we're live doing the show, and of course, there's technical difficulties trying to reach Gilbert now. Just had him, no problem. All right, let's see if we can get Gilbert back. Of course, nothing ever works perfectly in the world of live streaming and all that such. If we can't get Gilbert, we're just gonna have to go jump to the questions, unfortunately. Um, yeah, not sure what's happening. We're supposed to have Herbert. We're supposed to have Herbert Burns. That's how nervous I am about this thing falling apart at the last minute. There you go. There, Herbert. Are you there?
Yep, I'm
All right,
back.
hold on. Let me let me adjust. Because
Connection.
of course, I went live. Everybody's watching us. I'm embarrassed, looking like a fool, and now I have to reset it. So as the world gets used to you seeing your face again. So there he is. Herbert Burns is finally with us. Let me restart this whole shindig and start off by saying, all right, hello, MMA True Believers, and welcome to a first ever live edition of my ongoing series, Back Talk. I'm, of course, Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and as you can see, this is a bit of a different than previous episodes of this series, as I'm joined by a man who had another impressive victory in the UFC Octagon on Saturday night at UFC 250. He followed up his first round knockout in January with a first round submission win over longtime veteran Evan Dunham. He is here to talk with that win, answer your questions if you got them. We're going to answer some Sherdog forum questions, and he is the man known as The Blaze. Herbert Burns. Herbert, my man, thank you for joining me, and congratulations on another impressive win.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for having me. Let's talk back about MMA, about my performance, UFC 250, and the things that are still to come.
Now we talked last week about this fight. I wondered if it might stay, standing more since Dunham seemed weaker there. But you assured me you are always a jiu-jitsu guy first. That that's where you're gonna work first. That's always gonna be Plan A, and you did it to great success. Was there anything about his grappling that surprised you? Were you much better there than you expected? And we talked about too? Was his strength far less of a threat than you thought it would be?
It's hard to. I don't want to undermine Evan. He's a great fighter. A great. It was a great test. He's a he's a good grappler, but I knew I was a far superior grappler than him. My grappling pedigree shows that on paper, and I just went there and showed that on the fight. I had to rush a little bit because I knew I had hurt my foot, so that's why I kind of like rushed to get a clinch going.
Mm.
But when I got the clinch going, I'm pretty strong there. Very few people can escape my clinch and my back control. Then it's like very good control. Like very, it's hard to say no one can escape, but very few people can escape that control. So I got the back figure four. I knew it was just a matter of time for me to get the hold of the choke, and I could use my jiu-jitsu against him. It's my always will be my number one weapon. So
Mm.
that's what I want to be known for.
And now talk to me about that. The foot injury. That's interesting that it happened early. You realize, okay, let me get this clinch going. What is the injury? I see you mentioned on social. You talked to me a little bit about it. It's a cut and stuff like that. Because the way you were limping, me personally, watch, I was like, oh no, man, I hope he didn't get a knee injury or something like that. Because that's the first thing you always think about, especially after grappling. So what is the injury that you're talking about?
My toe, like my little toe, got stuck into the cage when I tried to turn my foot. It got a it turned into a huge cut. I tried to pressure him against the cage on the first, that he moved a little bit in an angle. So I was expecting his body to be there. So when I stepped for my leg, my foot went through, and I cut myself like a big cut
Oof.
into my foot and my
Mm.
toe, and my toe was kind of dislocated. But
Oof.
I'm not going to like stop. Hey, stop 1 second.
Time out. Time
Yeah.
out.
So I'm like, man, I gotta keep pushing to try to finish this fight because you never know. Second round, between the rounds, the doctor come in. Hey, no more fight.
Yeah.
So I rushed it a little bit. It's not the style I like to do, but it works also to like, because the cage is small. The cage was working on my favor, being very small.
Mm.
So when I tried to engage, I managed to get the clinch, but I had to rush a little bit because the cut is 12 stitches on my foot. It's a lot for a small place, but it's a like right on the joint, on the toes, and it was painful to do. And now the foot is just like a balloon. So because the pressure on the plane, so the
Wait,
foot got.
hold on, Herbert. Of course, somebody's knocking on the door right in the middle of a podcast. Give me
Yeah,
2 seconds.
you have a package arriving for sure.
Yes.
When you guys see that, huh? Live, the guy go there and has someone knock on his door.
And of course, this happened to me earlier. It happened to me early in the week. I'm talking to John Fitch in the middle of this really important point about like MMA unions and all these kind of things. And this guy's knocking on the door. And of course, my girlfriend and kid, they're in the other room, door closed, trying to be nice, not making any noise. So they're not hearing the knocking. Oh my God, I had to edit the whole thing and all this stuff. But going back to you talking about you and stuff like that, so far, you have only competed in the octagon for only 4 minutes and 3 seconds. You have 2 wins in the UFC in less than a round. Could this start to your UFC career? Honestly, could it have gone any better?
No, no, not any better. But there was what got my nickname Blaze, because I blazed through the opponents.
Mm-hmm.
On my when I went to my third fight, my second fight of one championship, I had under a minute in the cage. My first two
Wow.
fights combined are less than a minute. So
So,
yeah, I
so,
tried to
so,
do
the,
the job quick as possible.
so do you think that guy in one championship that we talked about that came up with your name all of a sudden, real quick? When the brand and the trademarking and the Blaze T-shirts start coming out and they start making big money and all this, do you kind of have to owe him a little money then?
No.
Now, I want to ask you about this because I tweeted about it that on Saturday night, and it was a weird thing to me. The featured prelim, which is a great spot on the card that leads into the pay-per-view, was Chase Hooper and Alex Caceres. I was no fan of that spot for Hooper after just one fight. I know it was an impressive win in the UFC, especially with his age too. That's a impressive situation. But he became a viral darling with the UFC, and they love that when those kind of things happen. It's easy promotion. They don't have to put that much work to. However, he was outclassed in a spot by a nice, solid fighter in Alex Caceres. You blitzed a really good veteran in Evan Dunham to open the show. Also, Alex Perez and Jussier Formiga, 2 top 10 flyweights, were on the early prelims too. Is that sort of stuff at all like frustrating? Is it surprising? Like why not give you a spot even on like a basic level? They could be like, oh, here's the brother of the number 1 welterweight in the world. Even if they forgot how talented you are and you've been in one, they could use that hook. Doesn't this part of you goes, come on, give Herbert your love, not Chase Hooper.
It frustrates me a bit, but I just block those things out. I just
Yeah.
try to focus on my control, but it frustrates for a few seconds. When I think about it, I'm like, I look at the kind of first fight. I don't mind fighting the first fight. Every time I fought in the first fight, the nights I won,
Yeah.
it's like, I think that's my third time first fight. And I won every single fight, but I think the fight was very interesting.
Mhm.
Durham being a top like lightweight, seasoned
Yeah.
veteran,
Yep.
and me putting a performance like I put with the KO in my first fight,
Hmm.
and said Gilbert just became a number 1 contender for the welterweights division. So I think they could put me in a better fight, in a better spot in the in the card. Even I was out of the TV. I think it was just UFC Fight Pass or ESPN Plus. I don't think I was not even on
Yep.
ESPN
Yeah.
network. So it is what it is. I went there. What I had to do is go there and put a good performance. That's what I did. What that was on my control. Hopefully next time they will show me a little bit more love and then give me the bonus.
Now, interesting question. I didn't get to. We've talked a couple of times, but I haven't really gotten to talk too much about this. But it seems more interesting now that your brand and your name keeps growing. Your daughter is old enough to understand her dad is doing something special. What's her reaction? To this, to dad being on TV and winning in big fights and impressively and all that kind of stuff. Is she like one of your biggest, most nervous fans watching your fights?
She is. She is. She just finished the fight. We spoke today. We speak every day on the phone, on Skype. So I have Android, so it's like WhatsApp call,
Yeah, yeah.
video. But we speak every day. Finish the fight, I call my mom because she was with my mom, and then we spoke a little bit. She was very nervous, but she was very happy for the performance. And she was like, "Dad, I prayed for the victory in the first round. See, you got it." And I'm like, yeah, I got it. So yeah, everything I do, the huge sacrifice for being far from her. And this coronavirus situation was crazy. I went to Conor
Yeah.
fight and was supposed to stay a week more in Brazil for her so we could enjoy, but to have to rush back to the America. So I still couldn't have like a good time for her this year. I had like 1 day that was only.
Damn.
So
Is there like a fear? Like, are you worried? Like, I mean, because I've seen the reports how it's getting worse in Brazil now and stuff like that day by day, and then now it's starting to get kind of like how it was here in New York, where like the hospitals are getting near a breaking point. Is there like a fear for your mom? Her, all that kind of stuff.
I always have to worry, but still like my family they're trying to social distance. They're doing the right precautions. My daughter's not even staying with her mom. She's staying with my parents the whole time because they have a better infrastructure for her.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's studying. She's doing the right thing. She's staying at home the whole time. I say, hey, you don't go out to do anything. You don't need to. my
Now I have
mom,
a yeah, yeah. Keep going.
my mama, she needs to go out to get what they need. But yeah, everything is good. I don't think nothing bad will happen with them.
Oh man, it's good to hear. Good to hear. Now I have a bunch of questions. Now we have like usually we do when I do this back talk show is answer questions from the Sherdog forum. The Sherdog forums have been popular for years. It's a place for some interesting questions, good and bad. So we have a bunch of questions. Also have got some questions on social for you to answer some good stuff. Now the first one comes from the person named Herwald. They ask, what is the absolute worst case scenario this whole John Jones situation could play out, both for Dana White and John Jones? What are your thoughts on that situation? What do you think could be the worst case scenario for something like this? This whole issue where he wants more pay to fight Ngannou, and Dana White seems to be balking at that.
The worst possible scenario, if he's to made one up, is for him to retire. That's for me is the most, because I think all the managers they have the same managers, he and George.
Yeah.
I think those managers are behind that, just trying to get a new deal. But as Dana White said, they just got a new deal. They won't get a new deal. So those guys gotta be reasonable, man. Okay, you wanted the fight, show the company some love, and then okay, I get this fight, and then if I win, we change to this deal. What do you think? They gotta know how to negotiate. You cannot negotiate just come with your foot on the door. Hey, gonna be my way like that. It's not going to be. You
Yeah.
don't have the leverage to come and do that. And you're just gonna piss the UFC off like they're doing. So they try for the first fight. Now they try for the second fight. That's what I think. But I think I would like to see Jones and Ngannou. I think it would be a good fight. I think Jones, on his last performance, he didn't do very well. Against Marreta, he didn't do very well. Against Reyes, he didn't do very well. Even against Vincent Pro, he didn't do very well. Against Anthony Smith, he didn't do very well.
Yeah.
Very cautious, he doesn't finish the fight anymore. He lost the flash that he had. He showed some moments in the fight, but he doesn't put the pressure. Doesn't look for the finish anymore. He's happy if you're winning by decision. But man, you gotta put the pressure if you want to be the GOAT. You gotta act like the GOAT. And I still would like to see the fights, but they need to negotiate better. They need to be smart on the way they approach the UFC.
And that's the interesting because the next question is from a person named Painbringer, and they ask, "Do you think Dana White will relent and give John Jones the big money to fight Francis Ngannou?" I personally don't think that's going to happen. I think the better chance of even going to the worst case scenario question is they make John sit out the rest of his contract if he doesn't want to play ball with them. And I saw Josh Gross, the well known journalist, make a point that they can, in the contracts, I don't know, maybe you can tell me this if you know it too, they have the ability to add on time if a person was difficult in terms of getting fights and not signing up for fights. So I just think they won't give him the money, so he's going to have to settle, or they'll just make him sit out for 2-3 years. What do you think? Will Dana White relent and give him the money he wants?
They can make him sit as long as they want. If they are offering him fights, that's what they need. They just need offering him fights. The deal's already made. They already know the amount that he's supposed to get. I offer you fights. You deny, the contract keep going. The time doesn't count. The 17th, if I get injured, let's suppose I get injured for 2 years. So my contract has 1 year. It will be expired. No, it will freeze.
Yeah, okay. That's fair.
It keeps going. So there's no way he's going to. Only if the UFC really wants the fight and if they see it like, oh, they're going to make way more money. But not this approach is not going to work. Not going to work to him. It's not going to work to George.
Do you think in a way it's almost like the UFC's fault? Because in the UFC, they've kind of opened the door for this kind of stuff where, like, when Nate Diaz fought Conor the first time, he was able to renegotiate. There's a lot of people that get to Conor is like the king of the fight renegotiation. It seemed like before almost every fight, at least years ago, he was renegotiating for more money. In a weird way, do you think the UFC put themselves in this spot that they showed certain guys favoritism by letting them renegotiate, giving them more money? And now when guys like John Jones and Jorge Masvidal are asking for more, some of the biggest stars in the sport, it's not even like almost on the fighters' fault. They've seen what happens. Now the UFC, they put themselves in this kind of position.
No, I don't think the UFC put themselves in that position. I think those fighters negotiate when they see the leverage in their favor. The deal was stepping in to save the show. So I'm like, all right, I'm saving the show. Gotta all right? 17 is Conor. I'm the biggest star here. He was in a position of strength. Then he used his leverage. That's what you're supposed to do when you're in a position of strength. Those guys are not in a position of strength. The idea of the fights of Ngannou and Jones came out of Jones' mouth. That's not how you're supposed to do. He should, I don't know, I would fight in heavyweight. Then the public will say, hey, what about Ngannou? And then the buzz will start, and then when the UFC will come to him, hey, what about you fighting Ngannou? Then he will be in a position of strength. But he didn't do that. He approached the UFC. So I'm like, the UFC like, no. I have the strength here, do whatever I want. But again, it's this. I think it's just the managers trying to, okay, it didn't work for Jones, didn't work for George. Now let's make those two stars to pressure the UFC to give us more money. Not going to work. Just let them know. If they don't know that, it's not going to work.
Now, this question comes specifically for you from Twitter handle Burks MMA. They ask, Herbert, who is your dream opponent?
At the moment, it's Volkanovski. He holds the belt.
Now, okay, that's an obvious thing, but let's say who's your money fight opponent? It could still be Volkanovski, or maybe there's somebody else that you feel is a better money fight for you.
Money fights is McGregor. I want to fight McGregor. Money fight. I think I have the right game to beat him. Okay, I have a good grappling and my striking. I have power. He has power. Has a good left straight, but I think I can make a strategy to finish him, not to win, to finish him. But if I had to choose, I would just for money fights. I would fight McGregor, but if it's for legacy, I want to be the champion. I really want to be the champion. And if I had to pick a fight now, I would choose Volkanovski. He's the champion. Nothing against him. I think the match style against Volkanovski is also good for my style.
Are there guys like that are the well-known kind of legendary names in the division? Now, I mean, two of them that were in featherweight are now leaving. But is there interest like a Jose Aldo, Frankie Edgar? Are things like kind of like bucket list fights for you that you hope to get one day? You know, coming up in the sport, admiring them, or it really that's not so much a big deal for you. It really is about winning a championship, making the money.
Making and win the championship. That's what is it for me. That's it. But yeah, Holloway will be a good fight in the future, but it's not something I aim. It's not something that is reasonable at the moment. I know my like I know my ability. I think we're close. I don't think we're far from apart. I think we're pretty even, but on names, he's a far behind, far in front of me. So I have I'll build up my space and build up my name, and eventually we'll get there.
Purple Storm, they ask, who do you think most deserves the next title shot versus Kamaru Usman? And who do you think it will be? I think we know who Herbert is going to pick here, but let's make the case because there might be those doubters out there like, oh well, you know, just they're not respecting Gilbert's name enough and thinking he's deserving of it. They're looking at the other names over there and looking at maybe Colby. Why is it Gilbert and why, make the case why it needs to be Gilbert, and despite those guys being teammates?
It needs to be Gilbert, and it will be Gilbert. I have faith in that because Kobe got finished. It was a close fight until he got finished. It wasn't, oh, it was decision. It was a split decision. No, he got finished. So he's out of question. Also, guy just got a new gym. He doesn't even know where he's going to train. He's still looking for his options. You think he's training super hard? Where he's training super hard?
He's not welcome at Sanford?
Definitely not. He's not welcome at Sanford. He's not welcome at ETT. He's not welcome most places. I'm sure he'll find some team for him, but that guy, I don't think. I think he sells a persona it's not good persona. It's not good. Like a lot of people hate him, but that's the way he keeps relevant.
Yeah.
Like people believe making people buy the fight to see him lose. He's going to lose. He just lost, and if he fights Woodley, because there I think I read that and somewhere on Twitter they were looking for the fight. I think he lost to Woodley. Then he won't take Woodley down. Woodley has way more power. The game he chose is just a lot of volume, but he doesn't have the power, so Woodley won't respect the power. Like he respect Gilbert's power. So
now,
I think Woodley will beat him. It needs to be Gilbert. The other name that was there up there is George.
Yeah.
Again, George doesn't want the fight. He does not want to fight Kamaru. I'll make people like he just don't want to say no to the media because he's the BMF champ.
Yeah.
And the BMF champion cannot say no. So if he say no, he gotta be stripped by the title.
Yeah.
But he does not want the fight. Believe me, guys. He does not want the fight. If he want the fight, the fight will happen already. They had beef on social media. They had everything to build a story. A good story behind that.
Yep.
But he does not want the fight. He wants a money fight because, man, if I fight Kamaru, I will get beat up. And it's better to defend this. And for me, the BMF title is a fake belt. It's better to defend this fake belt here because he's not the BMF. So I'll defend this fake belt here against Diaz, against guys I can beat, so I can beat Conor because the guy's a striker also. But Gilbert and Kamaru, they being teammates, there's already a story behind that.
Yeah.
People are already interested about that. And Gilbert's willing to fight. Not like those other guys. And he already said, I'm willing to fight in July. So that's the fight's going to happen. I'm sure that this fight is going to happen.
And it almost feels like it's perfect timing because he's such on a roll. Dominant wins. We talked about when we talked last time. He beat two guys that Kamara fought and beat them better. And you know they had this contract thing with Jorge Woodley, Covington. So yeah, it seems perfectly lined up for this to happen. And like you said, you nailed it. It's a story behind it. But speaking of Sanford, we got a question from the YouTube page while watching this from MMA Random. They ask, who is someone from Sanford MMA that no one knows about that has the potential to be a champion in a major organization?
They, no one knows about. There's a lot of talented guys there. But there's this guy Adam Borex.
Yeah, people know about. I know about Boris. Give me something like last night. Adam Borex is awesome.
Adam Logan Storley is going to be champion against someone. Bellator is not like he was on the Grand Prix and stuff, but the guy is like for real. Adam Logan. There's a lot of guys there, man. There's a lot of guys that unknown. Let me think about someone. Dang. Because most of the guys are very, very very kind of famous already. Oh, there's this guy that can be champion. I believe he can be a champion. He used to fight for Bellator. He fought for PFL last time, and now he doesn't have a contract. It's André Fialho.
Yep.
Portuguese guy is very good, super talented, and a guy is a vet. He's out of the UFC now, but he has a potential to come back and do a lot of damage. He fights on my division. That's Sean Soriano. He is on the corner for me. A guy that I would mention, he just made it to the UFC. That was Erwin Rivera. He got in the UFC. The guy is also super dangerous. But we have a great team. We have lots of good training partners. And I think we're going to be. I believe we're already the best team in the world, but we're gonna consolidate ourselves better soon. With more.
And I'm glad you brought up Erwin because I talked to Giga Chikadze like 2 weeks ago and asked about that. And he raved about it, even though he beat him and he was so much bigger and Erwin moved up in weight to fight him. He just raved about how tough he was, and he even felt that guy's going to be a star at bantamweight, and you know people are going to be blown away by him. So I'm glad you brought him up too. You know, so how does that work though? Like when for a gym that's like a powerhouse like Sanford, are you Gilbert Kamara? You know. Ongla Ansang, Martin Nguyen. Do you work with the guys that are maybe new, that are only 3 or 4 fights in? Like, do the top pros just mainly work with do you work with your level, or everybody mixes? Even if you're 2 fights in amateurs, you might be training with Kamara one day.
We have like 2 gyms now because Hard Knocks, that's also Sanford, we have 2 locations. So we have a location for the amateur fighters.
Oh, okay.
The upcoming fighters, I have a location for the pro fighters. But good of the guys amateur that are doing very well, they already come and train with us.
Okay.
So if you see a lot of potential in the guys, they come with us. So we train with everyone. We don't have like, oh, let's just make a group here. The guys that on the big promotions. No, like everyone is. You can learn from anyone, okay? And we keep our mind open and we train with all of our guys, doesn't matter which promotion they're fighting on.
Now, this question comes from Aries Black. They ask, and I think it's fitting based on what we were just talking about with the welterweight division, the title situation, stuff like that, and also who your brother just fought him. They ask, is Tyron Woodley finished as a welterweight contender? What do you think?
Definitely not. He's not finished. Like I said, if he fights Kobe Covington, if I had to put my money, I'll put my money on Tyron Woodley. He has power. I think he's lacking a little bit of confidence. That's the only thing he's lacking. He was very hesitant on his last 2 fights.
Last 2 fights, yeah.
With Gilbert and Kamara. And I understand why. Gilbert and Kamara, he thought, part of the fight, he thought he could out-wrestle Gilbert and he would be the bully physically. But Gilbert's big.
Yeah.
See that he's big. And besides Tyron Woodley, he was the one like more physically strong and pushing for the physical fight, and while Woodley was trying to save his energy. I think Woodley, the only thing I see that he could do better besides confidence is to push himself more. He needs to, because sometimes I see he can do more, but he chooses to preserve his energy.
Do you think that's age on some level? Because he was a guy that he's almost close to 40, and he seemed to defy it for so long. And do you think, they always say age reflexes kind of go first? Do you think finally maybe age has caught up with him, and there's certain things he just won't be able to do at a certain point now?
No, I'm sure he can manage his energy, but I think he saves too much. He can stay
Yeah.
more active, and he chooses not to. I think like limit is just like a curtain. There's a curtain here, and this is the wall. Your limits on your mind is here, but that's not actually your limits. So if every day you push your limits, you push the wall and the curtain back, and your limits will be more and more and more. But if you stop at the curtain, that will be forever your limit. I think he needs to go a little through that, and then he will his stamina will get better and better and better and better, and then he won't have it on his mind. Hey, if I explode now, I'll get tired real quick.
Okay.
I explode now, but I recover and I will be able to explode again soon. So I will explode now instead of being like super trying to manage his energy.
I'm always impressed talking to you. 'Cause I feel like I'm talking to like a 30-fight veteran, like the knowledge. But that's probably the Sanford. So much talent there. It's insane. But this question is probably the most important question of this group of questions for you, and it's my favorite. Chaz Skelly on Twitter asks, Herbert, how do you speak more proper English than most Americans? Which I agree with them. You do. It's amazing.
I'm still learning English. I'm still studying. My grammar, I made like silly mistakes because I self-taught English. I went to Singapore in 2011. I just knew how to teach a class in English. I didn't speak in English. So I got there. It was funny. First day I got there, the G owner was like, "Hey Herbert, hey, nice to meet you." Say, "Hey, nice." I knew like basic English, like "Nice to meet you. How long gonna be here?" And that was it.
Yeah.
He's like, "Okay, can you teach the class?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So I taught the whole class. Yeah, I knew how to teach a class properly. Like not only the body part, I knew how to pull, push, like hold it here, put pressure. All those things I already knew how to do. But that was only jiu-jitsu wise. My vocabulary is only jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So when I finished the class, the students, "Hey, nice class, very good English." I'm like, "Thank you. How long are you staying here?" I'm like, "This much." "So what are you doing?" I'm like, "No English." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "No English." Then I'm like, I felt like so like dumb that I couldn't communicate myself. So I study, study, study. I'm still studying. Still make some silly mistakes, but I'm trying to improve on my English, on my communication skills also.
I mean, I think they're fantastic. Now, we got another good question from MMA Random in the chat, and it's a question I kind of wanted to ask about too, because I've seen the stories about you and your brother mention your older brother, and they ask how old is the oldest Burns brother? What is his career now, and will he ever fight? Because I've seen the things where you guys say he could have been the best of you three.
No, he could. He could. The guy was a savage. It is a savage. It is a savage. He's 36 now. He's 4 years older than me. Like it's like 1 year, 8 months. The separation between Gilbert and I and him it's almost the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, the guy is like he's a savage. He's a equivalent to a Navy SEAL in Brazil. He's like a special
Wow.
force on the Marines, like
Wow.
real high level. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt also. He did very well on the low ranks, blue purple belt. The guy was like really good, but yeah, unfortunately life like make like kind of forcing
Yeah.
him not to pursue his martial arts dream, and he's doing very well. I think anything he would choose to do, he would do well because he's very smart and very persistent. But yeah, Gilbert and I now are fighting to keep his name alive.
All right, next question comes from David Lemon Party. They ask, what do you think of Jose Aldo getting the bantamweight title shot against Peter Young? Does he deserve it? And how do you see that fight playing out? And I think this is really an important question, especially after what Aljamain Sterling just did on Saturday night, the same card with you. And a lot of people thought he should have been getting that shot anyway. Still a Marlon Moraes, all these talented guys. Do you think, one, he should be getting the title shot? And two, how do you see that fight playing out?
I think he deserved the title shot. I think the fight was pretty close. Him and Marlon, I could see going either way. I saw Aldo winning. I saw I saw Aldo winning that fight. It was a close fight, don't get me wrong, but I thought Aldo won the second and the third round clearly for me. And I felt Aldo is one of my guys that I look for in the sport. I know him for a long time. We're not like as close friends, but I know the guy like Emerson Falcão. That's the guy that coached me for. He was on my corner for my first fight. It is like Aldo's kickboxing coach. He's from the same town as me, Detroit. And Aldo, it was a 10 years undefeated on featherweights. The guy was a featherweight, the only featherweight champ. He fought McGregor and never got his rematch. Never got. McGregor made his name of Aldo. McGregor is what it is today because of Aldo fight. And the rematch should happen because the guy, it was like, Aldo was just like the champion forever. He would beat everyone. So it was supposed to have a rematch. Instead of that, they never gave him a rematch. And he lost to Holloway. It's part of life, his age, and Holloway is a great fighter.
Yeah.
But he came down to bantamweight, won the fight. And how many fights that the judges screw up? Man, I would be a very bad judge if they put me to judge the fight. 'Cause I was like, what, seriously? Like, my fights that I see, no, this guy won. And the judges say another thing. So I think the promotion should treat them as they think. And Dana said, I thought Aldo won, so he needs to treat Aldo as a winner. So,
how do you think that fight plays out with Peter Yan and Jose Aldo then?
Oh, that will be fireworks. That will be fireworks. Because Peter Yan is a very dangerous fighter, very explosive. He's completed, he's good everywhere. And Aldo has the Muay Thai. I think I want to see the vintage Jose Aldo with the leg kicks.
He doesn't. Yeah.
I want that back because he has a great takedown defense and he has good boxing. But I miss those kicks. Those kicks were vicious kicks. I want that vintage Aldo back. And if there is the vintage Aldo back, I believe he could win. But if it's this new version of Aldo, it will be a very even fight.
Yeah, and I feel like if that fight, if we're getting boxer Jose Aldo, which is still a very good fight, it plays too much to Peter Yan's strengths. He wants to get in there, he wants to get dirty, and he throws such heavy shots. Yeah, and what's crazy, like 4 years ago, I wrote an article about Jose Aldo's kicks, and it's kind of like a misnomer. Like, we all look at him. Joe Rogan's always talking about his kicks, but he really just doesn't do it anymore. Like, it's nowhere near the guy that was like in WEC and early UFC. Like, what do you think's in it? Do you think that's like, age and just damage the legs and stuff like that? Maybe is he just avoiding it? Like, how do you go from such an excellent kicker to just like, nah, I don't want to use this anymore? How did something like that happen?
I think everything changed after he fought Korean Zombie. That he broke his foot when he kicked him. He still won the fight. But after that, I never saw him like eager to kick like he used to. He throws a kick here and there, but it's not even like with the full power he does. Not even close to similar. And I really would like to see that vintage Aldo back. That would be like if he gets the fight, throw those kicks, get the belt, maybe could be like it for him. I never know. But there will be a good way to close the career.
And especially, too, because we've seen it so much. We just saw it on the card 2 weeks in a row. 2 fights ended for the first time in years by low kicks. I love low kicks. They're so effective. We had the number 10th and 11th guy in history. And Aldo used to throw the kicks like the traditional to the quad. Everybody remembers Uriah Faber's leg and everything like that. If Aldo throws low kicks, man, forget about it. Like 3 he'd need to beat people. But next question comes from Instagram from the Olorino. They ask, when things get back to normal, as close as normal we can get, are you going to go to Botafogo and to the stadium and watch their games again? Or are you going to be one of those people that's like, I need a good year to go by before I go to public places again?
No, I go to Botafogo. If you guys don't know what Botafogo is it's a soccer team. You guys call soccer here. It's
Hmm.
one of the huge things from Rio, one of the best things in the world, like history. It's like a huge thing from Brazil, and I'm a huge supporter of them. And even after my fight, I was super happy because they post my picture on the Instagram, the social media, the Twitter,
Oh.
congratulating me for the huge win, and I'm definitely going to the stadium. We have the we use the Olympic Stadium Rio, the
Mhm.
Newton Santos Stadium. Newton Santos is the best defense left defense of all times, and he's the guy that he only played for one team, that was Botafogo. So
Mm.
yeah, after the things go back to normal, even if they're partial, fans can go to the stadium. When I'm in Brazil, I'm definitely going to Newton Santos to watch Botafogo play.
And that kind of love for you and tweeting about you, that sounds like it would lead here in America. Let's say it would lead to like you go to the baseball game, you throw out the first pitch. What is like the thing in soccer or football in Brazil that's sort of like that? Like they honor a celebrity or a person that comes in. Like, is it just you hand out the ball to the team captains? Like, what is the version of throwing out the first pitch in soccer?
You could start the first kick, the first, like, not the first kick, but
Mm.
they could give you a shirt or a plate before
Mm.
the game starts, something like that. That would be awesome. Hopefully, so.
Now, next question comes from Iron Nick 94, and they ask, would Conor McGregor be the favorite or the underdog in a hypothetical fight with Anderson Silva?
Underdog, at least on my eyes, he'll definitely be the underdog. He'll be on the side.
Really?
The size difference is
Yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
huge. And Anderson didn't do bad against Adesanya. I thought he was going to. I thought Adesanya was
True.
going to be better, and he didn't look bad at all. He looks very mobile, very. He could. He even took some shots. So yeah, I think if the fight, I don't think the fight will ever happen. But if the fight happened, I think Anderson would finish Conor. On my eyes, I see the leg range that he has, then the movement, the head movement he does. I think he'll use the leg kicks a bit and then set up a high kick and finish it, Conor.
And I think what was the rumors like for catch weight, like at 175, something like I know it's supposed to be lower. Well, how do
Ooh.
you think that would affect him though? For his age, is well over
That's
40
hard
now.
for him to make weight. 175
Yeah.
would be crazy.
Do you think? And perfect example too. You had Evan Dunham come down 5 pounds, and he wasn't as strong as you thought. Who knows? Maybe it affected him on some level. It was a fantastic strategy. Why not him Anderson come down maybe 10 pounds from his normal
No,
on his age?
that would be crazy because I don't think
Yeah.
Anderson Chin will hold up as much as could hold as middleweight.
So is he still the favorite, or is Conor the favorite then?
Still the favorite.
All right, now last question. It comes from Zebra Cheeks on the Sherdog forums. They ask, "What is the path to the title for lightweight contender Dustin Poirier? Does he move up to welterweight? Does he settle for money fights? Is he doomed to be a contender forever, or will he taste gold?" And he's one of the best stories like the last 5 years, and how he went from a featherweight, probably should have been there, probably straight and break it down his body too much, go to the lightweight, goes on an unbelievable run, interim title, and gives Khabib a really good fight. Like, what do you think? Do you think he can get back to contendership? Is there too many people in his way? Does he need 2 3 fights? What do you think the future is for Dustin Poirier?
I think he can get another run to the title. He just needs to be smart when he does. He still set it up to fight Dan Hooker. That was a fight that was talked before the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So if he Dustin win the fight against Hooker, what I think he should win, I think for him he'll fight Ferguson. If he beats Ferguson, he go back directly to the title shot. I think that will be a fight to put him back to title contention. And I think he did a good fight against until my Khabib got a hold of him. That was and
Yeah.
Khabib is just another level of strength there. Pressure, that was crazy. But Poirier was doing very well, and I think he has a lot of skill. he stopped breaking his body, just like similar to Gilbert, like
Mm.
being a big lightweight and suffering to cut weight. He was doing the same thing to go to featherweight, and saving your body save you more energy to perform better. And I think he can get another crack at the title
Do you
lightweight.
do you think it would almost help him in a way because he has a win over Justin Gaethje, an impressive win too. If Gaethje somehow did beat Habib, and things were still unsure about where the fight's going to happen next, and Conor sticks to this retirement thing, which I don't think he's going to stick to anyway. Do you think that almost helps Dustin if Gaethje were to beat him? If he gets one win, he beats Hooker, is that enough to maybe get him a title shot in one try because he has that win over the champion?
I think he beats Hook is not enough.
Yeah.
I think only if he's super impressive way, like a huge knockout, something like that. But I don't know. I think he needs another fight because Khabib was such a dominant champion
Yeah.
that if he gets beat by Gage, he deserves a
Yeah.
rematch.
True. True.
But yeah, I think he needs. I think those two fights, like Hooker and then Ferguson, they'll be the key, the easiest, easy, not easiest. There's no easy, but the shorter. It's not easy at all, but the shorter path for another crack at the belt.
And this is coming from a man who's been making it look easy in the UFC in his two fights already. But I believe you. But that's it. Is there anything you want to plug before we sign off here? Anything, sponsors or the social? If people are not following you, they should be following you. Like the social media. What's your social media? The Instagram, the Twitter, all those kinds of things.
You guys should be following me. Come on, guys.
Yes. Yes.
So Instagram is Herbert Burns, Twitter is Herbert Burns MMA, and Facebook is Herbert the Blaze Burns. A shout out to Tatami, the best fight gear out there. Alright, you guys can get them in the US and the Europe, everywhere in the world. Alright. Shout out to Burns BJJ, Combat Club, Sanford MMA, and Palm Beach Meals.
All right, and for me, Cheap Seats Chat on Instagram and Twitter. Look for I got a story with Marvin Vittori. He's fighting this week. That's coming. Gina Mazzagani. I'm going to talk to her later today. She's fighting this week. Look for those stories on Sherdog.com. Herbert Burns, the man. You are the best. I appreciate you being here for this first ever live edition of Back Talk. You were a fantastic co-host. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everyone, and hope to see you guys soon.